Thanks, Gus. Finally, for this session, we have Tom Ormesher. He has a background in environmental consulting, having worked for the NFU in Southeast England for 6 years, specifically on planning, infrastructure, environmental policy and rural development issues, seeking to influence local decisions relevant to NFU member businesses and providing technical support for their project. Tom's Nuffield project is about commercially relevant water management options for farmers and growers. Thank you, Tom.
Okay. Just to begin with, a few thank yous. So thanks to Nuffield and the John Oldacre Trust for being my sponsors. Also, thank you to the NFU. My employer has been incredibly flexible with allowing me to do this scholarship. And also thank you to Jen for your support over the past couple of years. So my project, it's about farming and water security. It's about coordination, representation, and what farmers can do to work towards strategic priorities. It's about market-relevant actions and in the context of farming and water management. So if we're thinking about the strategic priorities affecting the sector, well, for one thing, estimates suggest the industry could need as much as 700% more water in the next 30 years to maintain present levels of production. But our regulator says there's no more water available. In the same context, through consolidation and efficiency improvements, the sector is actually showing a declining demand in water. So this is a strategic challenge. We need to make a robust case that we need more water, but the information isn't available to make that case. Water isn't just a matter of quantity, though, it's also a matter of quality, and water quality affects the total amount available. And this has a reputation implication for farming. So what can be done to better profile the good work that's been done by farmers to move towards the scenario at the bottom, or providing better commercial advantages for doing just that? And there's also the question of flooding. It brings its own coordination challenges, so in terms of revenue, maintenance, and inward investment in rural areas. So what business-relevant options are available to farmers to meet these challenges? Are there any key ingredients for success for delivering better water management and better market positioning? So through my study tour, I spoke to farmers and farming organizations in mainly developed world economies known to be overcoming these coordination challenges. So from irrigation companies in New Zealand to farmers in the Israeli desert, and from supply chain partnerships in Spain through to major infrastructure projects in California. I believe I found a few key areas that could be of value to the British industry. The first of these is the dual value of resilience, providing both a business and environmental advantage. So in this aquifer storage and recovery system in the Netherlands, they take water from a sugar beet processing factory and inject it into an aquifer. The water this provides is actually secured at roughly half the price of the equivalent reservoir storage overground. So it's a really cost-effective solution. And during the 2018 drought, this group of growers were able to continue irrigating and continue producing, whilst all the others around them were subject to restrictions. So in taking the system offline and making them resource resilient, it means that this group of farms have actually got a great story to tell. And this rainwater harvesting system in California provides 6 months of water storage for a small dairy farm. And what that means is that they no longer have to take water from a nearby stream, and that protects a population of local salmon. So the project's a win-win. It secures environmental resilience at the same time as production continuity. And this system being trialled in New Zealand reduces slurry volumes by over 50%. So what that does is vastly increase the total volume of storage available to a farm, at the same time as providing clean water that can be used on the farm. So in improving their risk profile, they're actually able to increase production. So it's a win-win from that point of view. So in all of these examples, they're achieving more reliable production, and this is improving the cost, the income profile of the farm. At this point, I also want to talk about farmer-led dialogue. So for my projects, I went down to the Doñana region in Andalusia in Spain. The region produces 70% of the strawberries for Spanish strawberries. So it's a huge export value that comes from this region. But it's also one of the biggest and most important wetland areas in Europe, so it's quite important for wildlife. So the total volume of water that gets abstracted from this region, it's estimated to be about 150% of the total recharge value. So there's evidence to show that the areas of wetlands are actually declining year on year. So in order to try and improve this situation, a group of large food supply chain organizations, Unilever and very large businesses, representing something like 30% of the total value of the market, created the Doñana Berry Project in Spain. And their idea with this project was to introduce water efficiency measures across the supply chain, so it was a very top-down approach. And the learning from this really was that this project actually failed and it was completely rejected by the growers on the ground. So the farmers said that it was just too closely related to conservation interests, and the cooperatives just completely rejected it. So they had to rethink the project, and they started with a farmer-led organization. So they started with a small farmer steering group, and within a year they had 70 growers that were actually working as part of the program. So they're now sharing water efficiency data, so they've all got these monitoring equipment on their farms, and they're doing these ambassador farm visits. So there's several farms across the area that have got best practice technology installed, and each grower is going to each one of these. So they're aiming to achieve 20% reduction in water use, and this was all achieved by farmer-led learning. And by comparison, when I visited California, the Pajaro Basin on the central coastal region is also a really important area for growing food crops. But it's also really over-abstracted in terms of water. So in some places, the water table is at least a mile below sea level. So they've got really massive problems with saline intrusion. And it's a significant problem. There's a mountain range that goes around it, and there's no way of bringing a pipeline in to deliver the water. So they've got to, so a group of directors from leading horticultural businesses got together, and they said that this can't carry on. And they ended up publishing a declaration in a local newspaper, challenging farmers to change business as usual and wishing to see the valley continue as a vibrant, valuable agricultural resource. And it's out of that public declaration that the Community Water Dialogue was formed, where a group of local farmers, around 70 to 100 of them, got together, along with researchers and advisors to create this project. And it's really developed into, lots of innovative measures are coming through from this project. So from tracking water use metrics through aquifer recharge, or in this example, an index-linked financing arrangement, which is linked to irrigation performance. So people who purchase irrigation equipment through the loan scheme basically have a variable rate which is linked to their water efficiency metrics. But this all starts from the farmer-led collaboration. The next point I wanted to make is about collective profile. In all of these examples, these groups of farmers have used assurance to create a collective profile around their sustainable farming. So in Spain, 10 citrus growers were able to secure a purchasing commitment from the largest retailer in Germany at a premium price. And in New Zealand, an incentivized assurance scheme created by a milk processor creates the clean green credentials on which access to the highly lucrative Chinese market is based. And in the states of Jersey, all farmers must now be leaf assured in order to gain access to public funding, but this allows them to profile their credentials to their supplier. And really, it's just this collective profile element that I think provides a market-shaping opportunity for farmers. So the final point I'd like to make is around third-party programs, which are, and there's quite a few of these in the United States, so farmer-led coordination, but through a third-party program. So they're administered by farm industry organizations, and they provide a service to farmers, helping them to meet regulation requirements. They assist with funding the construction of improvement measures and providing grants to farmers. So this runoff measure in the foreground and this constructed wetland, which cleans water from a winemaking process in the background, were all funded through this third-party scheme. So the service keeps costs low for farmers, and the relationship is with the farming organisation rather than the regulator. So the farmer has a trusted point of contact, but the regulator is assured that the farm is compliant. In this example in New York State, a farmer-led organisation administers payments to deliver clean water to New York City. The payments are administered through whole farm plans, which acts as the gateway to funding, and the measures are about enabling better farming. So in this picture up here, we've got, they were assessing different maize establishment techniques to ensure that you've got better coverage of the ground. Or at the bottom here, this sort of fully funding feed storage buildings. And the crazy roof is basically because they have a lot of snow in that part of the USA. Or doing sort of precision nutrient advice with dairy farmers to reduce the amount of phosphate coming out the other end of the cow. So the whole point really is that this farmer-friendly measures administered by a farmer-led organisation. But in each of those examples of those third-party schemes, the third-party programme also helps with better commercial outcomes. So in Sonoma County, the Wine Growers Association are encouraging all growers to become part of the Sonoma Sustainable Programme. It's another third-party scheme, but what it essentially does is allow them to profile the county as the 100% sustainable, so wine buyers can buy into that region. And in a similar way, in New York State, they created the Pure Catskills brand, which basically is a restaurant and retail partnership service, so that farmers can gain access to markets in the city. So can this kind of approach work in the UK? Well, to some degree, it already does with producer organisations and abstractor groups and assurance schemes, but none of these really fully link sustainability, profitability, and collective action together. The third-party programme acts as an intermediary between the farmer and the regulator, helping to negotiate with the regulator and establish priorities as a group. The farmers share knowledge and innovation, but the regulator is happy because it reduces risk and drives more sustainable behaviour. But crucially, the group can also create their own business advantage, providing market opportunities that would otherwise be unavailable. So in summary, I believe there is a unique opportunity for farmers to take a leading role in securing water sustainability and take advantage of the commercial opportunities this provides. Third-party programs has a capability to provide a valuable link between the public and the farming sector, helping to manage public expectation and develop commercial and environmental resilience at a farm scale. And it's really this coordination framework that could be an extremely valuable tool to the industry. DEFRA should review options to incentivize the creation of these formal, commercially driven, environmentally focused, and farmer-led organizations. And in conclusion, just one of the best phrases I heard when I was on my scholarship was farmers can either be at the table or on the table, either taking part in the debate or the continuing topic of other people's debates. So we need to find ways to improve the representative reach of farmers so they're more often at the table for the important things that affect them. And I believe this option does just that. Thank you.